Almost live. All right, then. So, we would be talking about a lot of automation and lead generation and ad hacks and a lot of discussions that we have had in the past. So, we would be talking about something really interesting in this live session, which is what is the difference between lead generation and demand generation? Now, although they sound very similar, although they seem like they do the same thing, in a way there is an overlap between what each of these things do, but inevitably there is a difference in the strategies that you follow in terms of the mindset that you have when you're trying to achieve your tasks through lead generation or demand generation. So, without any delay, let's get into the discussion. And I have made a simple mind map for you to understand what each of these things mean. So, basically, when you look at lead generation and demand generation, lead generation has a kind of the timelines are definitely different for both of them. Lead generation is on the go. You just need them as soon as possible. Now, you know what you want to convert. You know that there are a few people interested in a few things that you may have to offer. So, you quickly give them a lead magnet and get them to sign up for whatever you're offering. Then you go about nurturing your audiences. Then you go about converting or selling to your audiences. So there is a life cycle that it goes through, right? So if you look at your screens, lead generation versus demand generation, there is typically a difference between both of these things. So the objective is collecting information to build a database of leads, which you would go ahead and nurture after that. Tactics are you have content offers, you have website offers, you have lead generation offers, you have lead magnets, you have a free ebook, you have a free webinar, whatever you can go ahead and offer to the audiences. In a way, this can be considered as impulsive. Now, an impulse offering that people can quickly go ahead and benefit from whatever you have to offer is what lead generation looks at. Then you have the target audiences as individuals you're showing interest. Now, in some way or the other, you know that these people may be interested for your service. How do you know that? You run an ad campaign, the audiences engage with your ads, which means they are exhibiting some sort of interest towards whatever you have to offer. Now they interact with your ads, they come to your landing page. Now once they come to your landing page, you go ahead and track the number of leads that are coming in, what is the cost per lead. Then you have if you look at the sales funnel or the funnel that you have in place, typically lead generation is at the top of the funnel, which means the more number of people that come in who are relevant, of course, and who interact with your landing page and lead magnet, you're bound to get as many leads proportional to the number of people interacting with the top of your funnel. Then you have personalization, which is this is personalized, don't get me wrong, but on a broader scale, the only personalization that you have is you have identified a segment of audiences who share some commonalities, right? Some common attributes. Now that is the only thing which is, how can you personalize otherwise? Now, if you have 10,000 people, you can't go ahead and start looking at making 10,000 variations of the ads, right? So personalization is there, but it is still limited. Talking about demand generation, the objective is, lead generation is a short-term activity in a way, right? So demand generation is typically has a long cycle. It is not something that is going to happen tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. It has a long cycle. It has a long set timeline for that to go ahead and for you to have a demand generation activity, right? The objective is to create awareness and generate interest. The tactics that you use are your typical channels, but then the way you advertise, the way you promote is slightly different. The target audiences is a broader audience. The metrics that we're looking at is we're not looking at generating or converting something or giving them something. We are looking at spreading as much awareness as possible about your product. Then you're more keen on trying to capture a segment of a market or a share of a market. We're not talking about independent people here, we're talking about a segment, right? Then you have the sales funnel. Demand generation happens at different stages of the funnel. Then you have personalization. This is typically more personalized because you're talking about a segment. A segment has people who share a common demographic, people who share a common, let's say, a job profile or an industry. They're all part of the same industry. Now, that way, there is a scope for you to go ahead and offer a little more personalization compared to a lead generation activity, right? So let me show something which kind of gives you a better idea. Now, I know this is not legible. Okay, let me see if I can increase the font size. Okay. Okay, you will have to forgive me for this. I hope you're able to kind of get an understanding from this. For some reason, I'm not able to increase the font size. Okay, so lead generation and demand generation. So lead generation is a capture contact information. You immediately focus on the sale. You have a one-on-one engagement. Then you have a short-term strategy. But demand generation is looking at brand awareness. It is not looking at generating an immediate, response or evoking a particular response by people accepting your lead magnet or anything like that. That long-term relationship is at the center of demand generation, right? Then you have content marketing that you go ahead and exhibit, and then you have multi-channel strategy, because you're not looking at one activity of one person. You're not looking at a one-on-one activity. You're looking at a segment as a whole, right? Now, this is how your demand generation and lead generation are different. Now that you know what is the priority of your business or service or product at this point in time, whether you want to go after lead generation or do you want to go after, let's say, demand generation. Now what you need to be doing immediately is to go ahead and understand the strategies behind demand generation, right? So this is exactly what I have put together for you. Now we would look at a demand generation workflow to go ahead and understand what is it that exactly happens at the core, right? Now, understanding the concept, now this is out of the way, we have already done that. So let us look at creation of B2B demand generation strategies. You need to identify your customers' needs, expectations, and challenges. Develop a plan to meet customer needs and expectations. You need to have you need to design marketing campaigns that go ahead and addresses customer challenges. So basically, I would break this down into three parts. The first thing is you need to go ahead and generate a lot of brand awareness. Second is you need to go ahead and have a content plan in place, whether it is social media, organic content, or going ahead and running paid ad campaigns. You need to have a content that picture piece in place for you to go ahead to do that, right? Then you need to have some sort of collaborations where you establish some sort of authority of in the space exhibiting things. I mean, you can go ahead and run a 3-day program. You can go ahead and demonstrate frequent strategies. You can take an entire case study and walk your audiences through this strategy, right? You can do a lot of things like that. Then you have, let's say you monitor the data is at the center. Let us not forget this. Data is at the center, and all your decisions and the marketing activities are driven by what you see in the data analysis part, right? So I have a better demonstration of this that I have put together for you. So if you can hold on. All right. Now, if these are the strategies that we have in place, right? So creating brand awareness, as I said, you need to have an effective content strategy. Then you have some sort of activity where you can collaborate and demonstrate your authority over something, right? The offering should be easy and free access to information should be available. Now, what do each of these things mean? If you're talking about creating brand awareness, you need to have some sort of differentiating factor. There are 10 other brands like you, all do similar stuff. So how are you going to differentiate that, right? Now, there is no point that, people are unaware of an astounding service that you may have to offer. What is the point? So demand generation goes ahead and takes the responsibility of throwing a spotlight on that service. You are generating demand. Big disclaimer. You cannot generate demand for something which is not worth it. If your product or service is not good, or if there are certain gaps that it does not fulfill, it means that there has to be a product development plan in place. Otherwise, you cannot generate demand for a product which is not good enough, right? Now, when you speak about creating brand awareness, your goal should be to build trust and long-lasting communication channels. Your customer engagement for conversions, you have to go ahead and personalize as much as you can. Then you have a content strategy, which is you need to leverage your blogs. You need to leverage your content ecosystem as a whole, whether it is organic, short form, long form. You need to go ahead and be present when people are looking for you, right? Now, contributing for guest blogs. This is not just guest blogs, but this could be any sort of collaborations. You could go ahead and present at a conference. You can work on a research paper. You can take a problem in your industry and then you can address and come up with a blueprint for that problem. You will demonstrate your authority over your service or product by demonstrating something of that sort. Now, the offerings that you have, these should be very easily accessible. You have to probably have a few giveaways. You need to have a free program that you go ahead and conduct. Because when you're trying to generate demand, there is no point if you're looking at short-term activities of immediately buying or selling an ebook for, let's say, $10 or $15. It doesn't make sense. You're looking at the bigger picture here, right? So this is an outline of the strategies that you could be looking at. But this is just an outline, right? When you look at typical strategies that you should go ahead and execute on a daily basis, what would they look like is what my next screen will talk to you about. In the meantime, let's look at what this offering is talking about. Informed decision making, high quality content resources, advocates before contacting sales team. Now, these are reference, these could be free resources that you have made for people. Now, these could be giveaways that you have made. So, broadly speaking, you just have to understand that broadly the strategies this way, right? You need to have a brand awareness activity in place. You need to have your content ecosystem in place, whether it is a YouTube channel, LinkedIn post, a newsletter, blog, whatever it is. Then you have a contribution or some sort of collaborations in place. Now, your resources should be easily accessible by people. Now, the last piece of the equation is, what does a day-to-day activity of this demand generation specialist or somebody, or a team who runs demand generation campaigns look like, right? Now, we have made sure that they are visible. So let's go ahead and look at each of these things. On the broader outlook, then you have marketing automation setup, then you have customer data platforms, then you have web analytics setup, or your Google Analytics basically. Then you have implement your account-based experiences, right? Now, at the core, there are 4 of these activities or strategies that we're talking about. When you speak about marketing automation, research and select appropriate marketing automation software. What software appeals to your kind of activities, right? Whether it is HubSpot, Salesforce, Marketo, whatever it is. Then you have set up these marketing automation tools and set up the integrations, which are very, very, very important. A lot of people that I know say that they're doing marketing automation, but at the most they have a drip campaign in place. They don't have an automation system. They don't have activities happening at the back end while they're busy doing something else. That's the core of marketing automation, right? Then you have email marketing, then you have lead scoring activities, then you have lead nurturing. This is wildly underrated and overlooked, which can cause a lot of serious problems for businesses, because you're pumping in money and you're looking at things you're assuming things are being automated, while at the end of the day you just have a drip campaign that's running, which is not ideal in my opinion. Then you have develop and implement marketing automation strategies, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Do you have an automation for social media in place? Are your audience being segmented, and are relevant ads being shown to these segments? And once people respond, are there enough marketing automation emailers or nurturing sequences being sent? Now, are you scoring leads along the process? These are some things that we have to pay attention to. Then you have, which is audience segmentation. Then you have lead management automation, right? So now that your goal is to go ahead and generate demand for your product or service, first strategy that we are speaking about is marketing automation. Under marketing automation, you need to have a right platform, right tools and integrations, right activities that you're focusing upon, which is you're automating social media, you're automating content, you're looking at lead generation, you're looking at lead nurturing, you're looking at lead scoring, right? That covers the marketing automation piece. Then you have CDP. CDP is probably the best thing that you can go ahead and look at when you're generating demand, basically for this simple reason. A CDP lets you go ahead and segment your audiences based upon different parameters. You can specify certain parameters, and audience segmentation will happen, and they're collected in different buckets. Then you can go ahead and start running these campaigns. When I say segment your audiences, it doesn't happen automatically. You have to set up these things, right? You have to set up an ecosystem around that. Now, research and select suitable platform, collect the customer data from all sources. CDP is beautiful in a way that it gives you a unified approach of data from all sources being centralized. Then it goes ahead and leverages the tools to segment the audiences. The segmented audiences will then be used for lead scoring and lead nurturing, right? Then you have, what should you use CDP for? Customer segmentation, personalized messaging, attribution, data analysis, and automation. The third piece is using your analytics, having data at the center. Let data be the guiding force for you to go ahead and choose whatever activity or action that you have to at the end of the day, right? So track website data, you look at user behavior, identify the trends, segment your audiences, develop and implement strategies using these tools, right? All right. The fourth part is account-based marketing. Now, account-based marketing or account-based experiences are when you look at high ticket or high value customers, and then you just don't look at one part of their segment. You do a deep dive analysis and you try to understand everything about them. You know their demographics, you know their history, you know their patterns, you know their, what do you say, previous purchases that they have done. So basically, you do an end-to-end analysis of an account, and you go deep down analysis into these aspects, and then you tailor make your campaigns accordingly. So identify the target high value accounts, create personalized customer experiences for these accounts, which means you go to the dot when it comes to personalization, because you know these are high value assets, and you also leverage data from multiple teams. You look at your customer service team, you look at your sales team, you look at your marketing team, then you bring in all pieces of data together in serving these account-based, accounts or customers. Then you have engaged target accounts and drive conversions. If broken down, you need to develop a strategy, identify the tools and technologies needed, whether it is personalization or running ads or sending them emails or whatever. Monitor and adjust the strategy based upon the results, which is where data is going to be at the center, right? So basically, this is how you look at the long-term picture of generating demand for your product or service, and you're not just looking at generating a few leads here and there, which then have to be nurtured, which then have to be sold or converted. Because it is not something which can happen in the long run, but demand generation is a long-term approach where you're looking at setting up an entire system where after a few weeks or months of setting this up, you can pretty much be hands-off and then let automation do its job while you overlook these things. So basically, this is one discussion I wanted to have when it comes to demand generation and lead generation. I hope this session was helpful, and if you have any questions, you know what to do. Please put in comments, and then I will make sessions specifically for anything that you may be interested in. Thank you so much. My name is Casey, and this is Marketing Think Tank. Ciao.